Hey everyone, so let's continue our topic about Edward Said. And today's topic is post colonial theory of Edward Said. It is obvious that culture is neither nature nor natural. But how is culture made and for what purposes? By the 70s, Marxism had been folded into a postmodern theory of representations, which is where Orientalism can be located. With the now expected antecedent of Hegelian logic embedded in critical theory, it was possible for Said to build on the foundation of previous scholars. In contrast to Mimi and Kissire and Fanon, who viewed colonialism as a psychological sickness created by the twisted, intertwined master-slave dialectic, Said took a post-structuralist. He read the discourse of Orientalism, consisting of texts of 18th and 19th century European scholars and antiquarians who constructed a conversely of a West that was the East. The basic assumptions that underlie the book include the historical fact of European colonial domination and imperialist exploitation that put European scholars in the position to gaze upon the exotic other and to study this alien otherness for European purposes. As was noted in an earlier post, the European concerns with the East can be traced back as far as the religious clash between Christianity and Islam that began in the 7th century and continues today. For centuries, a parity was reached when the demarcation between religious territories was sealed by the Austro-Hungarian Empire, but after two world wars in 20th century, the wound was reopened and laid bare. When the Ottoman Empire in the Middle East began to weaken, the Europeans, led by the French under Napoleon, began to encroach upon northern Africa. Under the scientific gaze of Europeans, Egypt, and by extension, the Holy Land became an object of study and a place of imaginative exploration. This land, holy to Christian and Muslim, this territory that was an eternal historical battleground trod over by many civilizations, was the starting point for Said, who turned the intellectual tables on the West. For Said, Orientalism, or the Western construction of the imaginary Orient, was fashioned by Europeans through practices of writing, which had the effect of representing the other, the East. Few people, except for hardcore historians and literary theorists, have ventured much beyond his introduction, and most readers probably find his later work, Culture and Imperialism, more interesting to read. When he established the notion of the Occident in opposition to the Orient, Said was in echoing George Hegel and Simon de Beauvoir, and using these intellectual sources, Said repositioned the West as the masculine one of the East feminized other. They said Michael Foucault's elaboration on the discourse is probably the most important of Said's intellectual influences. Foucault's impact can be discerned clearly in traces. Their repeated exhortations as to what Said is not saying, and the long, meandering sentences with endless pauses with semicolons. When Said established a literary or discursive field in which the Orient is constructed through language and representation, he was following the concepts of Foucault. Foucault dated the habit of Western authoring from the post-medieval substitution for the leper with the mad person as the other in society. someone had to be an outcast.